Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us for this webinar series. This is Digital Thread for Technical Authoring, and our focus will be on MIL Standard 40051. As Melissa mentioned, we are GPSL. I'd like to give you just a short introduction. First of all, my name is Gary Bartlett. I'm the VP of Sales at GPSL. GPSL has been a partner of PTC's for quite a long time now. We've been partners for many years, and we do mostly work in the aerospace and defense area for the United States anyway. GPSL has been around quite a while, since 2006. We have in a number of countries. As I mentioned, we specialize in aerospace and defense. We do work in other verticals and have other key areas today. Obviously, we're focused on the aerospace and defense area. The MIL Standard 40051 we're going to look at today is built on top of PTC's Windchill platform, or in the Army, it's you might know it as an ePDM environment, and uses, of course, Arbortext products as well. We own and maintain an extension to PTC Windchill for 40051 solution, and we provide global technical support and install and configure and support this solution. It's a pre-configured extension to Win that optimizes the creation, management, and delivery of 40051 out of the box. So this is the solution we're going to see today, and we go a little deeper into. So I imagine most people on the call are familiar with MIL Standard 40051. It's probably while you're here, but just briefly, it's an Army spec for creating, well, it's a DoD spec that the Army uses for creating technical data. It defines requirements for operational and maintenance technical data. So if you have a contract deliverable for MIL Standard 40051, or within the Army organization, if you're responsible for managing 40051 data, you'll be really interested in this solution. It's a very robust platform that we feel is extremely capable of ensuring accurate, compliant, cost-effective production and sustainment of technical information. So what we're going to show you today is authoring standard 40051 content in PTC's Arbortext editor solution, managing that content within the Windchill environment. In this context, the Windchill environment is an advanced content management system, effectively, for the solution, and that's key. Having this management system is really what forms the basis or to establishing the digital thread, and we're going to talk more about that as we go. Finally, look at publishing both PDF and IADS outputs from Arbortext publishing engine. Again, I imagine you're mostly familiar with IADS. That's the Army's interactive electronic technical manual viewer. And that's really the key to this thing. If you think about advanced distribution and consumption practices, a system that at scale, at volume, can really feed IADS and get accurate information out accurately, timely. I don't think there's any other solution that parallels the capability of the one we're going to show you today. I use the term digital thread. I imagine many of you have heard it, and in different contexts. Simply put, in context of what we're doing today, what that really means is the connection from your engineering configuration control data to your parts information and service content. And what that connection means is you can generate parts information and illustrations and be confident that they're always up to date with the latest engineering design changes. Enabling the digital thread with comprehensive content management strategy that I mentioned is the key to ensuring content consistency, technical accuracy, and timely availability of technical data to the maintainers and warfighters. Many of you are already familiar with using Arbortext Editor or other XML editor platforms to create MIL Standard 40051 data. It's often done by configuring your XML editor with configuration files that are downloaded from Army resources like LogSec, AMCOM, Logistics Center, or LDAC, without using a content management system. What I mean by that is your files are contiguous files. They're saved on local network drives. They lack associativity to the discrete change drivers that affect that content. And other robust, versioning and traceability features that a content management system provides. So what we today is how to significantly enhance your capabilities and efficiency to meet MIL standard 40051 requirements. Traditionally, the part of the top of this slide that mentions 40051 without Windchill, there's a great deal of manual needs to be done. Manually sharing files and routing them for review, creating the content, configuring the XML editor, checking in or checking for engineering updates or other configuration change drivers, and manually finding, where they impact the content, authoring that content, making sure that where it's reused or similar in multiple areas that you've hit them all, and manually creating RIPSTOLs and other 40051 deliverables. RIPSTOLs are repair parts and spare tools lists. In other words, illustrated parts, down content. That kind of stuff can be very time consuming, as you know. With the Windchill, we should.
Hi, Gary. Hi, Gary. You're breaking up just a little bit. I'm not sure if there's anything you can do with your microphone, but you are cutting in and out just a little bit.
All right. I've moved it a little closer. Is that okay?
I think so. And should go ahead and get started, and I'll let you know if that breaking up continues. Thanks.
Okay. Well, at the bottom of the slide, what we're talking about with this solution is having templates for products, libraries, information structures, and publications.
Yeah, Gary, you're still cutting out a little bit.
Packages from Windchill information.
Yeah, Gary, you're still cutting out a little bit. Sorry about that. But yeah, you're still cutting in and out. So it's hard to understand some of what you're saying, unfortunately.
Oh, I apologize. It must be an intermittent internet connection.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ryan Lubin.
Okay.
Ryan, solution architect at GPSL, and he's going to demonstrate kind of a high level end-to-end how this works. In the interest of time, there's numerous capabilities that he's going to touch on, but we want to briefly touch on them today during the end-to-end demo. We will dive deeper into these individual solution components in some of these areas in future webinar sessions. This is a series of 4 weeks, so please join us for the remaining webinar sessions. I'll go ahead and turn this over to Ryan then.
All right, thanks, Gary. Hopefully my audio is okay. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
Yep, so far it sounds perfect. Thank you.
All right. All right, so like Gary mentioned, I'm a solution architect with GPSL. I have about 15 years of experience in both Windchill and Arbortext, largely on the aerospace and defense side. And a lot of that has been just implementing various MIL standards within Windchill, such as 40051 and S1000D. So what I'll be demonstrating today is sort of an end-to-end solution or demoing our GPSL's end-to-end 40051 solution. In an effort to save some time, we've pre-recorded this demo, but I'll go ahead and get started. So like I said, this is our 40051 solution. The first thing we're going to demo is the content creation. So within Windchill or ePDM, our solution comes pre-configured with a bunch of templates. So the first template that we've got or templates that we have are the product templates. So this gets you up and running, and it creates the Windchill product. And there's, as you can see, there's a number of different versions of the spec that you can select from. So 6.0, 6.3, 6.5, and 7.0. Once you've created your product template, there's a number of other templates inside the product that you can choose from. The first thing we'll do is go ahead and set up our information structure. which is just, if you're not familiar with Windchill or Service Information Manager, it's a way of organizing your structure. So we have a number of, or organizing your content. We have a number of information structures that are pre-configured with kind of a functional or work structure breakdown, similar to what you'd see in like MIL standard 881. So we'll go ahead and create our information structure using the pre-configured ground vehicle template. So now that we've created our information structure, you can see down at the bottom there, we have an information structure in our product. I can select that and then go to the structure view, and that will give us our functional breakdown here. So this is, like I said, this is just a way for you to organize your content. So once we have that, we can start creating things like work packages and whatnot. But before we get to that, I'm going to demo creating the publication structures. So we also have a number of publication structure templates, which are essentially a way for you to start building out your publications. So we have various templates for like the dash 13 and 14 manuals, dash 10, whatnot. So this allows you to get up and running just as far as building out your publications. So I'm going to go ahead and create a 6.5 publication structure here. You can see there's a number of 40,051 specific attributes on the publication structure. So you can see here, I'm just filling out those various attributes, and those are used later on as far as publishing. So now that we've created our publication structure, you can click on that and again, go to the structure view. And like I said, this gives you the basis to start building out your pub. So you can, from here, you can start pulling in the various work packages for this pub. All right, so now we're going to go back to our information structure. And at this point, now that we've got our product set up, we've got our information structure and a publication structure, we can start adding some content. So I'm going to drill down into my information structure, and I'm going to add a new work package. And from here, so you've got a number of types you can select from. So we're going to select the 40,051 work package. And now you can see there's a number of pre-configured templates for the various 40,051 work packages. So we'll just go ahead and select a maintenance work package, give it a name. So we're going to go ahead and create a roof turret removal procedure. And then at this point, we can go ahead and create our new work package. At this point, so now you can see we have a newly minted maintenance work package here. I'll go ahead and check in the node in the information structure. And then at this point, I can go ahead and open it up directly in Arbortext Editor. From here, it's just prompting me to log into Windchill from Arbortext Editor. Go ahead and provide my credentials. It'll prompt me to select a context and my own personal workspace. And then at this point, it opens up my maintenance work package. I can check it out and begin authoring my content. So this should look pretty familiar for those of you that are already working with Arbortext Editor. Essentially, I'm just modifying some attributes and adding some content. So I'll go ahead and add a procedure and a step. And then once I've finished authoring my content, I can go ahead and check it back into Windchill. And at this point, you'll see that once it's checked back in, the maintenance task portion of this work package has actually been split out into a separate fragment. So that fragment is also managed within Windchill and can be repurposed within other work packages. The next topic we're going to cover is the 40051 RIPSTOL creation. So within Windchill, the SIM and service part solution allows you to generate things like service bills of material off of engineering bills of material. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a service bill of material that I've created for a centrifugal pump. It doesn't have to be a service bill of material, but this particular service bill of material is generated off of upstream engineering CAD data as well as an engineering bill of material. But it could just as well be, you can generate your RIPSTOL directly off of the engineering bill of material or any other bill of material such as a logistics bill of material. But in this case, I'm going to use my service bill of material. And the first thing I need to do in order to generate my RIPSTOL is create a parts list. So I'm going to go back to my information structure. And I'm going to navigate down to where I want to add that. So I'm going to add we're creating a RIPSTOL for the fire pump or a centrifugal pump. So I'm going to create a new parts list there. And you can see the type is 40051 parts list. So it's a specific parts list type. And first thing I'll do is I'll give it a name. And then once I scroll down, you can see there's a number of 40051 specific attributes. So I can give it a work package number, sequence number, set the maintenance level, functional group code, title, figure number. And then you also have the ability to select the parts list type. So the different 40051 parts list types, you can choose different types. And then you can specify which branches it's relevant to. Once I'm ready to create my parts list, I'll click OK. And now you can see I have a parts list in my information structure. And if I select that parts list, I can now open that in the parts list editor directly in Windchill. And you can see right now we have an empty parts list. So the first thing we want to do is associate our service bill of material. So I'm going to search for that part number and then go ahead and associate my service bill of material. You can see I've got a newly created tab on the right, which is my SBOM that I just associated. So from here, I can select all of the parts that I want to add to my RIPSTOL and add those to the parts list directly. Once I've added those parts from the bill of material to my parts list, I can go to my items tab. And from here, I can actually configure things like the item number, as well as other attributes. By default, it pulls in like things like quantities and whatnot from that bill of material. Once I've added the parts to my parts list, I can go ahead and use that to generate a 3D illustration off of this parts list. So what it's going to do here is it's going to pull that upstream CAD and engineering data and use that to generate my 3D illustration based on the parts that I've added to my parts list. So you can see I've selected the Creo Illustrate template, so that'll generate my 3D illustration. And I'll go ahead and give it a name. You can specify the folder or just use the folder that's already specified. And then from here, so now Windchill is pulling in all that visualization information from the CAD model and using that as the basis for our C3DI file or Creo Illustrate file. So you can see it prompted me to open that up directly in Creo Illustrate. So now it's launched Creo Illustrate, and I can begin illustrating that parts list illustration. So now it's launched Creo Illustrate, and it's prompting me again to log into Windchill from Creo Illustrate. And it's opening the C3DI file that we just generated off of our parts list. The first thing we want to do is we want to generate a new figure. So here you can see here's all the visualization information that's been pulled in from that 3D model. And now we have the basis for our 3D illustration. And at this point, we can start doing things like orienting it. We can change the way it renders. So now we can make it appear as line art, even though it's still a 3D illustration. And then we can start doing things like exploding the various components. The other thing I should mention is that even though this C3DI file was generated off the parts list and it's a single illustration, you can actually generate multiple figures from this same C3DI file. So let's say you have a RIPSTOL with multiple sheets. You can use this single C3DI file to generate all of those different sheets for a single RIPSTOL. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and just select all of my callouts and remove the callouts. So you can see that each of those callouts has multiple lines. I'm going to remove those and just add a new callout for each of those with a single line. And from here, for the sake of time, I've just fast forwarded. You can see I have my finished illustration. And at this point, I'm ready to go ahead and check it back into Windchill. So once I've finished with my 3D illustration and check that back into Windchill, I can actually use this to generate or save it out as a 2D illustration. So I'm going to go ahead and save this illustration or this figure out as just a single SVG file. So you have a couple different options. You could do CGM, SVG, ISODraw. All right, so I'll go ahead and give my SVG a name. And then I'll go ahead and save it out locally. There's a number of options that you can choose when you're saving out your 3D illustration as an SVG or 2D illustration. All right, and so now that we've saved out, or we've created our 3D illustration, we've saved out a 2D version of that. We can go ahead and close Creo Illustrate. And at this point, I'm going to go back to my information structure. And I'm going to use that 2D illustration that we just saved out from Creo Illustrate to create a new 2D illustration in Windchill. So I'm going to go ahead and insert new graphic information element. From here, I'll specify the 40051 illustration as the type. And then I'll just browse to that same SVG that I just saved out from Creo Illustrate. And I'll go ahead and click OK to create my 2D illustration. Go ahead and check in my information structure node. From here, we can go back to our parts list. So we have our 3D illustration. Now we're going to go ahead and associate that 2D illustration as well. So the 2D illustration is what will actually be used during the publishing process, either publishing to IADS or to PDF. We'll see that shortly. All right, so now you can see we have both our 2D and 3D illustration associated with this parts list. At this point, we'll go ahead and check it in. And so now we've created our 40,051 RIPSTOL. And at this point, we're ready to begin building out our publication and publishing. So from Windchill, we'll go to a publication structure. So this is one that's already been partially built out. So you can see we've got the various section, got some introductory matter content, general info, operator instructions. So we've got a number of work packages there, troubleshooting procedures. I've got some maintenance instructions, some RIPSTOL content, and then some supporting information. So before we actually modify any content or add anything to that publication structure, I'm just going to open that up and show you what it looks like on the IADS side. So here we have the same pub that we built out in Windchill. It's been published to IADS. You can see the various work packages that we were just looking at on the Windchill side. If you go into any of those work packages, so these are illustrations that are associated with the work packages that are published out as part of that IADS package. And then you can see here's our different work packages underneath each of those sections. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to modify our publication. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up an existing work package. So we've got our theory of operation. I'll go ahead and open that up in Arbortext. And we're just going to make a real small edit to our content just to demonstrate that in real time that our change is reflected on the publishing side. So I'm just going to go ahead and insert a new para. So here's my update. I'll just go ahead and make it bold. All right, so once I've made my update, I can go ahead and check my work package back in. And then I'll go ahead and close out Arbortext and go back to my publication structure. At this point, I'm going to insert the maintenance package, work package that we created earlier. So I can go to my information structure and pull that directly into my publication structure. So there's my roof turret removal that I created. And I'm going to add that to my maintenance section. Check that back in. And then finally, I'm going to add the RIPSTOL that we just created. So again, I'm going to go to my information structure and pull that parts list into my publication structure. pull that up underneath the RIPSTOL section. And then I'll go ahead and check both of those back in. All right, so we've made an update to our content, and we've pulled in 2 new work packages. At this point, we're ready to publish. Oops. Need to go back up to the top. All right, so we can either publish to either PDF or IADS. So first I'll go ahead and publish my IADS output. Submit that published job. And while we're here, I'll just go ahead and publish to PDF as well. You can generate your 1C or 2C output directly from the same publication structure. So now if I go to the representations tab, you can see I've got 2 different representations. I've got my IADS as well as my PDF associated with the same publication structure. And I'm going to go ahead and download my newly generated IADS package. So if I go to the zip that was downloaded, I can extract the content from that. And here you can see we have our IADS bundle. So there's all of the various work packages contained in the folders, as well as the DTD and a couple of other config files that the IADS viewer is expecting. From here, we can, again, open up our publication in the IADS viewer. So this is that same P19 publication. And now if we go back to our theory of operation work package, you can see here's the update that we just made on the Windchill side. And again, if we go to the maintenance section, we can see here's our newly created maintenance work package. And if we go to the repair part section, you can see here's the parts list that we generated directly out of Windchill. So that's the IADS viewer output. From that same publication structure, we can also download a copy of our PDF. So again, this was generated off the same publication structure using the same work packages. It's all managed through that same publication structure, but we're able to publish to various output formats. So you can see here is the same publication structure, just published to the PDF output. And this is the 40,051 solutions. It's pre-configured with the AMCOM 40,051 style sheets. So this is all ready to publish out of the box using their style sheets. So again, here's our theory of operation update. Here's our other various work packages. So maintenance section, troubleshooting. Get into, now we're into the RIPSTOL section. So here's several RIPSTOLs that we had already added to the publication structure. And now we get to the one that we just generated out of Windchill. And then finally, our supporting information. So that's the end-to-end 40,051 solution. At this point, I will go ahead and turn it back over to Gary.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Okay. So from an architectural point of view, these are the create, manage, deliver components that make up the end-to-end solution that we looked at today. So what Ryan showed you on the left side, create authoring 40,051 compliant structured XML content in Arbortext editor. Management of that content in the middle with Windchill, the ePDM environment, and publishing a compliant PDF from Arbortext publishing engine on the right, the deliver side, as well as creating the IADS XML bundles to drive the IADS viewer. So as I said, we will get more into these solution components and some of the other optional capabilities and applications as we go further into the webinar series. I think with that, we'll open the floor to questions. You can see my contact information on here as well. If you have any additional, if you need additional information or have any queries of any kind, don't hesitate to contact me. Before we get into the Q&A, I'm just going to put the slide up for the remaining webinar sessions in this series. They're at 10:30 each Wednesday, 10:30 Eastern time, each Wednesday for the next 3 weeks. They will be recorded as well. Some of these capabilities were, kind of skimmed over because of the time to do an end-to-end demonstration. We're going to deeper into these things that you see on these future webinar sessions. So please join us if you can. And as I said, they will be recorded in case you miss it. So with that, I'm going to open the floor to questions.